Hello my dear students, welcome to yet another cool botany session of Alpha Entrance Academy Alappi. My name is Rishmi, I am your new botany teacher. So today I am here to teach you the chapter Plant Kingdom. Okay children, so what do you mean by Plant Kingdom? In Plant Kingdom we are going to learn about the different species of plants that we see around us. Hope you have studied the chapter Animal Kingdom in zoology. Okay, so similarly in Plant Kingdom we will be grouping plants into 5 categories. So what are the 5 categories? One is Thallophyta, second one is Bryophytes, third one is Pteridophytes, fourth one is Gymnosperms, and the fifth one is the Angiosperms. Okay. So once again, Thallophytes, Bryophytes, Pteridophytes, Gymnosperms and Angiosperms. So in this chapter Plant Kingdom, you have to study each of these 5 classes in detail. Okay. It's one of the important chapter. For board exam also you can expect economic importance of Thallophytes, Bryophytes etc. from this chapter, and for entrance level also so many questions are coming from this chapter. So please pay attention in class and be ready with a notebook and pen. Take down the notes as I move the slides. You have to take down the notes. You have to also take down my lecture notes, which is more valuable. Okay, and then please use your headphone for better sound clarity. Okay, so without wasting time, let's begin our chapter Plant Kingdom. So children, in Plant Kingdom we have 3 systems of classification. So in Plant Kingdom we have, first one we have a classification system, and this classification system we had certain drawbacks. So to overcome that we had some taxonomical classification also. So first let's see that 3 types of classification, that is artificial system of classification, then you have natural system of classification, and finally you have phylogenetic system of classification. So the system of biological classification of Plant Kingdom includes 3 systems of classification. They are artificial system, natural system and phylogenetic system. Is it clear to you? Again we are going to study each system. Okay, so first one is the artificial system. So you can see a beautiful picture of Carl Linnaeus, who contributed to the artificial system of classification. Okay, so here what they say is that it is the earliest system of classification. So the most primitive system of classification is the artificial system of classification. Entrance point of view, name the earliest system of classification, that is artificial system of classification. And then it's based on vegetative characters or superficial morphological characters such as what all children? Habit, color, number and shape of leaves. So the thing is that in this system of classification, in the artificial system of classification, Carl Linnaeus had chosen only the morphological characters of plants for grouping them into different categories. Morphological characters means the external characters of the plants, like the habitat of the plants, like the leaf shape, leaf number, then the overall morphology, the number and shape of the leaves. All these characters were considered in the system of classification. Okay. Then Linnaeus' artificial system of classification was based on andrecium structure also. So what do you mean by andrecium children? Andrecium, what is andrecium? It is the male reproductive unit of a plant, okay, of a flowering plant. So andrecium is the male reproductive unit of a flowering plant. It includes what all things andrecium comprises of children? You have studied in your Chota classes. Tell me, andrecium comprises of what? Anther and filament. What are the structures? Anther and filament. Anther is a bilobed structure. Okay. Anther is a bilobed structure. Like this you can see the anther and this is the filament. Okay. This is the filament and this is the anther. And inside the anther you have pollen grains. You have pollen grains. Okay. So, this is the anther and filament together constitute or together comprises the andrecium unit. In otherwise, you can also term this as stamens. Stamens. Okay. So, the andrecium can also be called as the stamens of the flowering plant, which includes the anther and the filament, and inside the anther you have the pollen grains. Pollen grains is the male gamete, which in turn fuses with the egg of the female unit. Okay, and thus fertilization takes place and a zygote is formed. Is it clear to you? So, the artificial system of classification means it is the earliest system of classification, and it is mainly based on morphological or the physical characters of a plant. And what are these physical characters? It includes the andrecium structure, it includes the number and shape of leaves, it includes the color of the plant or the color of the flower, and also it includes the habit or the nature of the plant, where it grows, whether it grows in a desert region or whether it grows in a humid region. All these conditions are considered under this artificial system of classification. Is it clear to you? And since we studied that the artificial systems is based upon only the morphological characters of the plant, so it has some drawbacks also. Let's see what are the drawbacks. They separated the closely related species since they were based on a few characteristics. So, even the closely related species, okay, means the closely related plants and the closely related species were separated due to the system of classification, because it focused only on the morphological characters, and because of this even the closely related species of plants were got separated due to this classification system. And then equal weightage to vegetative and sexual characteristics. This is not acceptable since the vegetative characters are more easily affected by the environment. So, here Linnaeus had focused on both vegetative characters. Vegetative characters means the morphological characters, and also he focused on the sexual characteristics, that is he focused on andrecium structure also. Andrecium means the sexual unit. Okay. So, both morphological characters, that is the vegetative characters, and sexual characters, that is the andrecium structure, were considered by Linnaeus in this artificial system of classification. This was one of the drawbacks, because the vegetative characters or the morphological characters of a plant can easily be changed due to the changing environment. For example, a well grown tree, it is having full of green leaves. Suddenly, when drought comes, what happens? The leaves will wilter off. So, one of its morphological characters has changed, means the leaves, we cannot consider the shape and size of the leaves because the leaves have wilted off. Okay. So, like that, if we are considering only the physical or the morphological characters, that means these characters are easily affected by the changing environment. So, this is not possible. This system of classification is not possible. That is the main drawback of Carl Linnaeus artificial system of classification, because he mainly focused on the vegetative or the morphological characters of a plant. Understood? While we are doing a classification system, we should take those characters that are constant or that are permanent. If we select temporary characters like the morphological characters, then that means that system of classification is of no use, because the physical characters can change at any time due to our external environment. Is it clear to you? So, since artificial system had certain drawbacks, okay, another two scientists named George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker came up with a new system of classification that is known as the natural system of classification. So, let us see what they are saying in this system of classification. The natural system of classification, these are based on natural affinities among organisms, means here they are focusing on the natural similarities between organisms. So, in natural system of classification, Bentham and Hooker, okay, they focused on the natural similarities between organisms and they grouped those organisms into one particular group, okay. It considers external features and internal features. So, they also considered both the morphological characters as well as internal features also. Okay. So, they considered external factors like that in artificial system of classification, and in addition to that they also considered the internal characters. What are the internal characters? Let us see. They are the ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology and phytochemistry. Ultrastructure means the fine structures of each and every sections of a plant, and then anatomy means the different components of a plant, the study of different components, different structures of a plant. Embryology means study of embryo of a plant, and phytochemistry means the study of phytochemicals. Phytochemicals means those plant hormones. What do you mean by phytochemicals? Phytochemicals means plant hormones. You have studied that we human beings have different hormones, isn't it? Like the thyroid hormone, we have growth hormone. Similarly, plants also have certain phytochemicals or hormones. What are they? They are abscisic acids, auxin, cytokinin, ethylene, okay, and gibberellins. What are they? Auxins. Okay, they are auxins. I will write on the board. The different plant hormones are auxins, gibberellin, then you have cytokinin, then you have abscisic acid, and finally you have ethylene. Finally you have ethylene. Okay. So, the auxin, role of auxin means it helps in cell division of the plant. Please note it down, children. It is very important for your exam. Auxin means this is a plant hormone which helps in cell division and cell elongation. Okay. And gibberellin means it is actually needed for the growth of branches of a plant. Okay. So, a baby plant when it needs to get branch, this hormone, this gibberellin hormone plays a crucial role. And then you have cytokinin. Cytokinin is actually needed for flower formation and fruit formation of a plant. Okay. So, when a plant starts to flower and fruit, it needs the help of cytokinin hormone. And then you have abscisic acid. Abscisic acid is actually a inhibitory hormone. Okay. Remaining all those hormones are growth hormones, stimulatory hormones, means it will be stimulating the growth of a plant, whereas abscisic acid means it is an inhibitory hormone, that means it inhibits the growth of a plant, because we have auxin. So, due to the presence of auxin, the plant starts growing. Okay. So, after attaining a certain height, the plant growth needs to be arrested. For that we have this abscisic acid hormone. So, abscisic acid hormone will arrest the growth of a plant after a certain growth period, isn't it? And finally, you have ethylene. Ethylene helps in ripening of fruits of a plant. For example, when you see the mangoes, first it will be green in color, and when it becomes ripened, what will be the color of the mango fruit? It will be yellow, and this yellow color formation is due to the presence of ethylene hormone. So, study of all these phytochemicals. Okay. So, study of all these phytochemicals, that is hormones. Phytochemicals means hormones, comes under the natural system of classification. Okay. We can note it down: auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid and ethylene are the different plant hormones. Okay. So, here in natural system of classification, Bentham and Hooker had selected both external characters as well as internal characters. What are the internal characters? They are ultrastructure, anatomy, embryology and phytochemistry. Phytochemistry we discussed now about this is a study of phytochemicals or plant hormones. Example, classification of flowering plants given by George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. Okay, the name of the scientists are very important. George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. Please note it down, children. Name the scientists who contributed the natural classification system. Name them. It is George Bentham and Joseph Dalton Hooker. In short, we call them as Bentham and Hooker. Okay. Is it clear to you now? The natural system is clear to you? And similarly, the third system of classification, this is the third system of classification, that is phylogenetic classification system. So far we studied about artificial system of classification, then we studied about the natural system of classification, and finally the third classification system is phylogenetic system of classification. In this system they are saying that we have a common ancestor. All organisms, each and every organisms in this world have a common ancestor. That is the main point focused under phylogenetic classification system. Okay, so see here, who is our ancestor? For human beings, we we human beings, we came from apes. No, our ancestors were apes. So we have a common ancestor, that is apes. Similarly, you can see photograph also. Okay, photograph also from apes, the human beings evolved. Okay, so that is the main point focused under phylogenetic system of classification, that is these are based on evolutionary relationship among organisms. So this system mainly depends upon the evolutionary criteria. Okay, evolutionary criteria. So we all have, this system says that we all have, all organisms have a common ancestor. So now the three systems of classification is clear to you, that is the artificial system of classification proposed by Carl Linnaeus, and then you studied the natural system of classification proposed by Bentham and Hooker, and finally you studied the phylogenetic system of classification, which says that all organisms have a common ancestor. Is it clear to you? Can I move to the next slide? Okay, so while studying the classification system, we came to see some drawbacks also. So to overcome those drawbacks, there evolved another system for naming and classifying plants or organisms. That system is the taxonomical system. What is it, children? Taxonomical system. So to overcome the drawbacks or the failures of classification system, there evolved the taxonomical system. So let's see the different taxonomical system. Okay, so from this slide onwards you are going to study the taxonomical system. There are three types of taxonomy. First one is numerical taxonomy. Numerical taxonomy. So numerical means numbers, isn't it? So in this taxonomy, numbers are related. So let's see how numbers are related here. It is based on all observable characteristics. Okay, so numerical taxonomy means it is based on those characteristics which we can visualize with our naked eyes. That means observable characters which we can see or which we can visualize. It is carried out using computers. Okay, so in this numerical taxonomy, we need the help of a software, we need the help of a computer system. Number and codes are assigned to all characters and the data are processed. So in this numerical taxonomy, we will be giving numbers to different characters. See, here you can see the different taxas. Taxa means what, children? Taxas, the kingdom, the phylum or division, the class, order, family, genus, species. These are the 7 taxas. Okay, so you are writing taxas here, and here this column you have characters. So you are assigning numbers to different characters. So say number 1 is for leaf character, number 2 is for the shape of the flower, number 3 is for the shape of the ovule, number 4 is describing about the overall androecium structure. So like that we will be assigning numbers to different characters of a plant. okay, and also codes will be there, see plus, 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 and in between you can see minus also. So these are the codes that we assign to different characters of a plant. So we will be taking the observable characters and we will be grouping the characters by giving them certain numbers and codes, and these numbers and codes are stored inside a software or inside a computer system. Thus hundreds of characters can be equally considered. So due to this system, this taxonomical system, we can classify almost 100 characteristics of a particular plant, okay, and we will be grouping all these characters by giving them numbers or codes, and these numbers and codes are later on processed and stored inside a computer system. So we need a computer system under this numerical taxonomical classification system, okay. And the second one is the cytotaxonomy. Cytology means the study of cells, okay. So cytotaxonomy is mainly related with the cell structure, cell chromosome and all. It is based on cytological information like chromosome number, chromosome structure, chromosome behavior, etc. So here in taxonomy, we will be considering the chromosome structure, chromosome shape, chromosome number, and also the chromosome behavior of a plant. And based on this chromosome characteristics, we will be grouping the plants into different categories. Is it clear to you? And the last one is chemotaxonomy. What is that, children? Chemotaxonomy. Chemotaxonomy means the study of chemical compounds, okay. That means it uses the chemical constituents of the plants. We studied what are the chemical constituents of the plant. The plants have phytochemicals or the phytohormones or the plant hormones like auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid and ethylene. Also the plants will be having certain and other chemical constituents like the stored food material like starch, okay, and then certain other plants will be having the prepared food material like glucose. All these comes under the chemotaxonomy. So we will be considering all these points under the chemotaxonomical classification system. So here in this slide you have to study the three types of taxonomy. Taxonomy evolved in order to overcome the drawbacks of the classification system like artificial system, natural system, phylogenetic system. All these three classification system had certain drawbacks. So in order to overcome those drawbacks, scientists had came up with the taxonomical system. So it includes three types of taxonomical system. They are the numerical taxonomy, cytotaxonomy and chemotaxonomy. Is it clear to you? I hope so far it is very much clear to you, okay. So moving on to the next slide. So again we are going to study about algae, okay. See, such a beautiful slide, no? Algae. So as I said earlier, we have grouped plants into 5 categories. They are first one thallophytes or algae, second one bryophytes, third one pteridophytes, okay, fourth one gymnosperm and fifth one is the angiosperm. Okay, so in this order we have to study each of the group in detail. So first one is the algae. So have you seen this algae, children? Have you ever gone to a seashore? So when you go to a seashore, you can see some plant-like structures floating on the top of waves, you can see. Those plant-like structures are actually algae, okay. So there are red algae, brown algae, green algae, okay. So mostly these are marine organisms. Algae are marine organisms. We can see them growing under oceans and seas, okay. So see this slide, children. Algae means they are simple, thalloid, autotrophic, chlorophyll bearing and aquatic. That means aquatic means it can either be a freshwater or a marine organism, okay. So what do you mean by simple thalloid and autotrophic? Algae structure is simple. It's having a thallus. Okay. The plant body of an algae is known as a thallus. What is that, children? The plant body of algae is known as a thallus. So it is thalloid in nature since it is having a thallus, and it is autotrophic. What do you mean by this term autotrophic, children? Autotrophic. Algae are autotrophic organism. That means algae can prepare its own food. By what? By they are having a chlorophyll bearing organism. That means they have chlorophyll also. They are green in color. These are the different algae. They are green in color because they are having chlorophyll in them. The green pigment chlorophyll in them. And due to the presence of this chlorophyll, they can prepare their own food. Since they are preparing their own food by photosynthesis, they are called as autotrophic organisms. So what human beings are? Are we autotrophic? No, we are not autotrophic. We are heterotrophic organisms. What are we? We are heterotrophic organisms. That means we have to depend on any other organism for obtaining our food. Means we have to either depend on plants or we have to depend on animals for obtaining our nutrition. So human beings and other animals are grouped under heterotrophic type of nutrition, whereas plants and algae are grouped under autotrophic mode of nutrition because they can prepare their own food by means of photosynthesis. Okay. So I hope you know photosynthesis. What is photosynthesis, children? Give me a definition for photosynthesis. Just recall your memories. You have learned in your small classes. What is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis means the phenomenon by which green plants in the presence of sunlight take in oxygen, isn't it? Take in carbon dioxide, sorry, they take in carbon dioxide and prepare food in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll, and the prepared food material is glucose, and they will be liberating oxygen as byproduct. So can you write the equation for photosynthesis? Please write down the equation for photosynthesis in your notebook. Meanwhile, I also write it on the board. Okay, so you can compare with. So children, photosynthesis, as I said, it means it is the process of taking in carbon dioxide and water molecule in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. They prepare their food, that is C6H12O6, which is known as glucose. Okay. So the algae prepare their food, that is glucose, and they will be eliminating 6 molecule of oxygen. Okay. So this is a balanced equation for photosynthesis. Please study it because it is very much important for your exam and also for your entrance. For your entrance, more weightage is for this chapter, this photosynthesis chapter. So under this photosynthesis, you have to make sure that you study this balanced equation. So 6 molecule of carbon dioxide and 6 molecule of water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll form glucose, 1 molecule of glucose, and they are eliminating the byproduct is 6 molecule of oxygen. Okay. So let us see whether this is a balanced equation. First let us take the example of carbon atom. How many carbon atom are there here? 6 carbon atom here, and also here you have 6 carbon atom. So it is balanced. And let us take oxygen. Here you have 6 2s are 12 oxygen atoms. Here again 6 oxygen atoms. So 12 plus 6, 18 oxygen atom here, and on the left hand side you are having 6 oxygen atom in this glucose molecule, and in the oxygen you have 6 into 2, 12. 12 plus 6 again 18. So it is balanced. So you are having 18 oxygen atoms on right and left hand side, and again you have hydrogen. Hydrogen you are having 6 into 2, 12 hydrogen atoms on the left hand side, and on the right hand side you are again having 12 hydrogen atoms in the glucose molecule. So it is also balanced. Okay, it is also balanced. So this is your balanced equation for photosynthesis. Okay, I hope you also wrote the same equation in your notebook, isn't it? Okay, fine. So algae means it is having a simple body, it's having a thallus, so it is known as a thalloid in nature. It is autotrophic and chlorophyll bearing or aquatic organisms. That means like it can prepare their own food by photosynthesis, and mostly they are freshwater. We can see them in marine water as well as in fresh water also. Okay, they also occur in moist stones, soils and wood. So this algae needs moisture or humid conditions for its growth, so that it will be growing on moist stones, means those stones having a moist or watery coating, algae will be growing on top of that stones. Also in soils, in moist soils you can see algae, and also in wood. See, in wood this is the bark of a tree, you can see algae growing on those bark of a tree. Okay, so like that you can see this is the general growing habit of a algae. And then some algae occur in association with fungi. Okay, so certain algae they make an association with fungus. Okay, make an association with fungus, and they both will grow and both are benefited. They both are having a symbiotic relationship. Symbiotic relationship means both give and take relationship. Here both of them are benefited. So such type of association means association of an algae with fungi is known as lichen, L-I-C-H-E-N, lichen association. And also some algae they grow on surface of animals such as sloth bear. This is the sloth bear. This is a sloth bear. Okay. See the sloth bear, it is having a green fur, it is having a green coat, okay, green fur, and that is due to the presence of certain algae. Okay, so algae will also be growing on the body surface of animals such as a sloth bear. See, and this animal is having a green fur or a green fur coat. Okay, fur means like nammal romakuppaya ennokke parayathilla adanidhu. Okay, so the sloth bear is having a fur coat due to the growth of certain algae on its body surface. Okay, so this is the general characteristics of an algae. Moving on to the next slide, you can see different types of algae in this slide. You can see Chlamydomonas, you can see volvox, okay, you can see Eulothrix, you can see Spirogyra. These all are the different types of algae. So the form and size of algae is highly variable. That means algae exist in different forms and different shapes also. Some algae are microscopic unicellular forms. So some algae you cannot see with your naked eyes. You need the help of a microscope for viewing this microscopic algae. They are also unicellular. What do you mean by unicellular, children? Having a single cell. So what are human beings? Are we unicellular or multicellular? We are multicellular. Okay. So Chlamydomonas, example is Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas is a microscopic unicellular algae. See, this is Chlamydomonas. Okay. This is Chlamydomonas. Chlamydomonas are unicellular. They are having a single cell and they are also microscopic. We cannot see them with our naked eyes. And also the second form of algae is colonial forms. Okay, colonial form, example is volvox. See, you can see volvox here. How they exist? They exist in the form of colonies. Okay, we can't see them in isolated groups. They only exist in form of groups. Okay, they need some neighbors along with them. So volvox exist in groups only. And the third one is filamentous forms. Example you can write as Eulothrix and Spirogyra. Eulothrix, see here, Eulothrix, it is filamentous. Filamentous means it is having some branches. Okay, so Eulothrix and Spirogyra are the branched or filamentous algae. For one word, they can ask like this, name a unicellular microscopic algae. So you can write the answer as Chlamydomonas. So another question, name a colonial form of algae. You can write it as volvox. And another question, name a filamentous or branched algae. So you can write it as Eulothrix and Spirogyra. So clear to you? Moving on to the next slide, reproduction. How algae is going to reproduce? Okay, so actually three methods are there for algal reproduction. First one is the vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction means actually they reproduce by fragmentation. What is fragmentation? See, this is a Spirogyra structure. fragmentation in Spirogyra. This is a Spirogyra structure. So it's a filamentous structure. You can see the spiral chloroplast here. You can see the central nucleus, and also septa is here. Septa means the region that is separating each and every fragments, each and every sector or fragment. See, here you can see a septa, here you can see a septa. So that means septa is a structure that is separating the Spirogyra, the fragment of Spirogyra. We will be separating, or we will be dividing the plant body of Spirogyra into each fragments with the help of this septa. So see, here you can see one fragment, here you can see another fragment. Okay. And now each of this fragment will mature and develop into an adult plant. So the vegetative reproduction means it is taking place by the process of fragmentation. The entire plant body will get divided into short fragments, and each of the short fragments later on mature and develop into an adult plant. Okay. Second one is asexual reproduction. Second mode of reproduction in algae is asexual reproduction. So here the asexual reproduction means it is taking place with the help of spores. That means zoospores. Okay. Zoospores. They are flagellated. That means they can move. They have flagella. These are the flagellas. See. These are the flagella. So with the help of these flagellas, the zoospores can move and they germinate to give rise to new plants. See, this is a plant body, and the plant body, from the plant body zoospores are coming out, and the zoospores later on mature and develop into a new adult plant, and the zoospore move with the help of its flagella. Okay, flagella is the locomotory organ of the zoospore. With this flagella, the zoospores can travel. And the third mode of reproduction is the sexual reproduction. Okay, so sexual reproduction, you know that it is happening by fusion of gametes. So you need to have a male gamete and you need to have a female gamete. Both this male gamete and female gamete unite to form a zygote, that is known as sexual reproduction. Okay, so how algae reproduce? Algae reproduce by vegetative method, then by asexual method, and also by sexual reproduction method. Okay children, moving on to the next slide. So regarding the sexual reproduction is of three types. We studied that it is taking place by the fusion of male gamete and female gamete. So the sexual reproduction also comprises of three types of methods. They are very much important. Please note it down for entrance point of view and also for exam, board exam point of view. This slide is very much important. The sexual reproduction, different types of sexual reproduction. First one is isogamous. Okay, what is the children? Isogamous. What do you mean by isogamous? Isogamous means the fusion of similar gametes. That means the male and female gamete are morphologically similar in size and shape. Okay, and they may be flagellated or non-flagellated. So the gametes, in isogamous, the gametes can either be flagellated. That means it can either have a flagella, example in case of Eulothrix, or they can be either non-flagellated. That means they can be without flagella also, example Spirogyra. So only if the gametes are having flagella, they are motile, that means they can move. So if they are non-flagellated means they are non-motile, that means they cannot move. Okay. So flagellated you can write example of Eulothrix, and non-flagellated you can write the example of Spirogyra. Okay. So in sexual reproduction, isogamous means it's a fusion of similar gametes. See here, this is isogamous. Here you can see two gametes. The plus means the female gamete and minus means the male gamete. Okay, I will write here as female. F for female and M for male. Okay, plus means female and minus means male. So here in isogamy, the two gametes are morphologically similar in size and shape. Okay, is it clear? And the second type of sexual reproduction is anisogamous. What is the children? Anisogamous. Anisogamous means the fusion of two gametes that are of dissimilar in size. What is the children? They are dissimilar. The two gametes are dissimilar in size. Okay, so in anisogamous means the two gametes are dissimilar in size, means morphologically they are of different shape. Let's see the diagram. Look here children, the female gamete is bigger one, no, and the male gamete is smaller one, and the female gamete is bigger one. That means the two gametes are morphologically different in size. So the fusion between two gametes that are morphologically different in size and shape is known as anisogamy. Example you can write as Eudorina. In Eudorina you can see this anisogamy type of sexual reproduction. Okay. And the third one is oogamous. Oogamy. Oogamous or oogamy type of sexual reproduction. Here the fusion is happening between one large non-motile or static. Static means non-motile, that cannot move. Fusion between one large non-motile or static female gamete with a smaller motile male gamete. Here the male gamete is motile because it is having flagella, whereas the female gamete is not having flagella. The female gamete is not having flagella. Okay. So here the fusion is between one large non-motile female gamete with a small motile male gamete, that is oogamous type of sexual reproduction. Example you can write as volvox or fucus. Okay. So you can write the example as volvox and fucus. Once again I will repeat, the sexual reproduction in algae are of three types. First one is isogamous. Isogamous means the fusion between two gametes, that is male and female gamete will be morphologically similar in size. Second one is anisogamous. In anisogamous the fusion is happening between male gamete and female gamete, but both of them are morphologically dissimilar in size and shape. And third one is the isogamous type of sexual reproduction, where the fusion is between one large non-motile female gamete with a small motile male gamete. Is it clear to you? You have to thoroughly study these three terms because it is very much important in the exam point of view. Okay, moving on to the next slide. So here we can see that the algae, the benefits of algae. So again we are going to study, so far we studied about the general characteristics of algae, we studied about the reproductive method of algae. So again we are going to study the benefits of algae, means the useful effects of algae. First point is through photosynthesis they fix half of the total carbon dioxide on earth and increase the level of dissolved oxygen. So with the help of photosynthesis they are fixing the level of carbon dioxide in earth, and also they are increasing the amount of oxygen. Through photosynthesis, what is the byproduct form? Oxygen. So they are increasing the level of oxygen, and the human beings and all animals are getting more and more oxygen due to the photosynthesis process happening inside algae. And the second point is they are the primary producers and basis of the food cycles of all aquatic animals. So algae, they are primary producers, means they themselves are preparing their food and they provide themselves as food for many aquatic animals. Okay, so many aquatic animals like the fishes, okay, like the lobster, all these marine animals will be feeding on this algae. So they are the basic food producers also. So 2 points we studied, and let's move on to the third benefit of algae. So you can see different forms of algae here. You can see Porphyra, Laminaria, Sargassum, Gelidium, Gracilaria, okay, and these are the products that we obtain from algae. So about 70 species of marine algae are used as food. So algae are edible also. We can also feed on algae. Example Porphyra, all algae are not edible, only certain algae like Porphyra, Laminaria and Sargassum. Okay, Porphyra, Laminaria and Sargassum. Name the edible algae. What will you write? You can write Porphyra, you can write Sargassum, and you can also write Laminaria. Okay, so about 70 species, okay, more than 70 species of marine algae are used as food. And the fourth point is agar, okay, agar, see agar, this is agar powder. Agar is obtained from algae such as Gelidium and Gracilaria. It is used to grow microbes for in laboratory conditions and all. In microbiological labs, you have to mainly depend on this agar powder for culturing of bacteria and all. Okay, this agar means it is a powder obtained from Gelidium and Gracilaria, and this is used for culturing purpose, for culturing of bacterial colonies. You need this agar powder. You will take this agar powder, we will be adding some hot water to it, and we can prepare agar plates, and onto this agar plates we will be streaking the bacterial colonies. Okay. So, this agar is very much important in microbiological laboratories, because this agar is also having one another property. It is a hydrocolloid, that means it is having water retaining capacity or water holding capacity. Okay. So, that is an important feature of agar. Agar is used in microbiological labs. Also, agar is having one more advantage, that is it is used for preparing ice creams and jellies. All students like ice creams and jellies, isn't it? See, you can say pastries like ice creams and jellies. All this consistency, the jellies are all having a jelly like consistency. This jelly like consistency is contributed by this agar powder. Okay, and also the ice cream, the fluffiness of ice cream is contributed by agar powder, and this agar powder is obtained from seaweed, that is a sea algae called as Gelidium and Gracilaria. Very important, please note it down children, Gelidium and Gracilaria. Name the algae from which you can obtain agar. You will be writing the answer as Gelidium and Gracilaria. Okay. So far we discussed about the 4 advantages of algae.